All right. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. Let's begin with chanting of Om. 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 Let's meditate for a few moments. Open your mind and your essence of being into the infinite. However that ultimate reality is known or imagined, acknowledge it as omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, everywhere present, all-knowing, all-power. And let's acknowledge the great saints of all enlightenment traditions and honor the divine nature of every person, everywhere, and acknowledge the truth of our own essence of being, our own existence, and that at the deepest level of our being, we are one with the infinite, with the ultimate reality, with God. And all knowledge of that ultimate reality is within us. It can be awakened and unveiled and revealed, and therefore realized or experienced and accurately known. In fact, to have this realization is the furthest extent of spiritual awakening, the ultimate awakening that is possible for us to have, the ultimate awakening for us to aspire to and to actually experience and know for ourselves. As we meditate, when the mind is very calm and the emotions are settled or quiet, then we have an opportunity to directly be aware of and experience our spiritual nature, what we really are, behind the persona or the personality and the characteristics of the personality behind the mind is our pure awareness, which is always whole, serene, and self-knowing. Om, peace. All right. When we use the word self with a capital or uppercase S, we mean the essence, the true essence, what we are. In contrast to the ordinary misguided or mistaken sense of self-identity, which we call human consciousness, which is modified and somewhat distorted. But we have the potential, every one of us, we have the potential to be fully awake, fully conscious of our true nature, and our relationship with the wholeness of life or the infinite. So today I want to talk about the importance of endeavoring to realize and accomplish, to express, actualize through our actions or make real by our actions the four main aims or purposes of life in this world. The first is to find our real place in the universe, where we are best qualified to function, where we feel when we are there that we are where we belong, and we even say perhaps when we are there, we say, I feel that everything is in divine order. Everything is as it should be. I am whole, complete, and I have harmonious relationships with everyone, and life flows easily. So when we are there, doing what we are best qualified to do according to our intellectual ability, our knowledge, our skills, our talents, our abilities to function, when we are doing what we are best designed or qualified to do, and then we are happy and we have a sense of fulfilling our destiny. There's a Sanskrit word that is often used to refer to this condition or this place in this experience. It's called Dharma. And the word Dharma has many definitions or many meanings. It can mean basically that which upholds or maintains. It can also mean righteousness or what is right or proper in harmony with natural law. So the idea when we are living this way in harmony with the natural rhythms of the universe, using our knowledge and our abilities efficiently, skillfully, wisely, this is called dharmic living or righteous, effective living. And when we live like this, then we are inclined to have the full support of the forces and processes of nature, emerging events, and the good fortune that can be ours that is provided by the universe, which we call a process of grace, because we don't earn it. It's just there, provided to us. It is available to us. And I'm sure everyone has experienced on occasion those circumstances in life when good things happen and sometimes catch us by surprise. And we say, gee, I didn't anticipate this. I didn't make it happen. I couldn't have dreamed it up. I couldn't have imagined it. But how wonderful it is that life provides this good fortune and this support for me and for others. So the important thing then is to find our right place in the world where we can best function and live there wisely and well. Sometimes I think about the young people, and I know in America, perhaps also in your country, that young people when they're in high school perhaps or the college level, young adult stage, perhaps they talk to an older, hopefully wiser person, a guidance counselor or someone who can advise them. And sometimes they will be advised to prepare themselves for a certain profession or for a certain station in life because it will be they can earn good money, they can have the respect of others in the community, they can survive well and provide for their family and support the processes of society. And this is all right for most people, But I often wonder how many times a counselor will ask a young person, what do you want to do? What do you feel you are here to do? If you had the freedom to do whatever you wanted to do, what would you do with your life? And I think that's important to ask of every young person, even every adult uh, who's been in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It's important to ask, what am I here to do? What am I here to contribute? And find out what it is, and then get on with it and endeavor to fulfill that inclination, that aspiration that we have. But in order to do this, we have to learn how to, number two, we have to learn how to have our life-enhancing desires easily fulfilled. And by life-enhancing, I mean have desires that when they are fulfilled actually improve our lives, make us more healthy, more prosperous, happier, more functional. Uh, in other words, enable us to accomplish our purposes almost effortlessly and effectively. So we can do that so life doesn't have to be a struggle. I know in the world, all over the world, in many countries, there are people who are struggling to survive, and life is very difficult for them. Now, sometimes there are oppressive social or political conditions, or even environmental conditions, bad weather, earthquakes, and storms, and so forth, that interfere with people's lives. But ordinarily, when people are living in an environment that is reasonably well ordered, there will still be many people who are not functioning very effectively, who are not very wealthy. They're poor, and they're not educated, and they have difficult time just getting by and getting along with other people. And this is not the way to live. We want to be able to live effectively. We want to have all of our desires that will enhance our lives when they are fulfilled. We want to have them easily fulfilled. We want to have all of our needs, our real needs, not necessarily our wants and our whims, but our real needs, to have them satisfied so that we can live a fulfilled life and be free to function efficiently and wisely. And then the next aim or purpose to have fulfilled is to have adequate resources, material resources, to enable us to accomplish all of our useful purposes. So again, we have enough money, we have enough knowledge, we have enough friends, supportive friends, and personal relationships. We have a supportive environment that provides for us all that we need for our comfort and security and our freedom to express ourselves easily and successfully. And oftentimes, when we are not in things are not working well for us, we need to learn to use our imagination creatively. Creative imagination is controlled imagination. Uncontrolled imagination is fantasy. Now and then it's all right to indulge in fantasy, make believe, to imagine how it would be to have ideal circumstances and so forth. But when we are being intentional, we want to accomplish purposes of value, then we should imagine possibilities as they can be. Because your mind and your brain doesn't really know the difference between a memory that is the result of imagination or the personal experience, actual experience. The brain and the mind doesn't discern the difference between. those two types of memories. Therefore, if we can use imagination, and we can, to imagine ideal experiences and ideal events and circumstances, we can improve the capacity of the mind and the brain to actually accept such experiences, to have them in real life. For instance, I'm sure you know that many athletes, people who play golf, people you see on television playing football or basketball, they use their imagination. In their mind's eye, they see themselves being successful at doing what they're going to do, and then their body just follows through, and they're more liable to be successful. You see perhaps on television during the Olympic Games, swimmers and other athletes, and certain ones are almost always the winners. And there may be only a few hundreds of a second between the people who win and the people who don't win. But why is it that just those few people almost always win? Because they have it in their mind that they are going to do it, and they have that extra drive, that extra something that enables them to go through successfully and to win the contest. So it's useful to use imagination. For instance, if conditions aren't ideal, if we aren't as healthy as we would like to be, if our job situation is not as we would like to be, our personal relationships are not as we would like them to be, our spiritual progress, our awakening is not as we would like it to be, we can imagine how would it be if all of these situations were ideal. How would it be if I were healthy, happy, successful, able to meditate effectively, able to accomplish my purposes, using my skills and talents? How would it be? And not only imagine it, but also feel what we would feel when the situation was actually manifested or experienced. How would we feel? Then you see you have this imagination, this picture in your mind of ideal possibilities, and then you feel how you would feel. So what you are doing, you are improving the capacity of your mind and awareness to actually experience what you imagine. So I emphasize strongly the helpfulness of wise use, creative use of imagination. And also I emphasize the usefulness of wise affirmation. An affirmation is a declaration, a statement of what is true or what we want to be true, what can be true and what we want to be true. There's no point in affirming that we have or something that we impossible for us to have, or that we are doing what it is impossible for us to do. For instance, I would not imagine or affirm that I am an astronaut, or that I'm going to go to the moon week after next. I mean, it would be fantasy. That would be unrealistic. But whatever is within the realm of possibility that we can experience, if we can imagine it, if we can affirm it, if we can declare it to be true, there is a good possibility that we can actually experience it. So an affirmation is a declaration, a firm statement of what is true. For instance, we can affirm, I am a spiritual being. Now that happens to be true. We don't have to make that happen. We don't have to hope that it's going to be true. It is an actual fact. We are spiritual beings, so we can affirm, I am a spiritual being. I am a spiritual being. And you can do that several times a day if you want to. Or when you're sitting to meditate, when you first sit to meditate, you can remind yourself, I am a spiritual being. Or when you're meditating and you notice that you're too passive and you're just sort of there and not very alert, you can affirm mentally, I am a spiritual being. Or use your own words, create your own affirmation, such as the radiance of my pure essence continuously illumines my mind and consciousness. The radiance of my pure essence continuously illumines or brightens, clarifies, purifies my mind and consciousness. At the deepest level of being, we are already pure and whole. Therefore, when that purity and that wholeness is expressive, is no longer restricted and confined, when it is expressive, it illumines, it purifies, it clarifies our mind and our awareness. So it comes from within. It doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. That's why I frequently say that spiritual enlightenment is really the result of self-revelation. Revelation, or a coming forth, a recognition, and a coming forth, and a actualization of what we already are at the deepest level of our being. So we can use these procedures that we have, these abilities that we have, to improve our lives in practical ways, to live effectively, to have our life-enhancing desires and our real needs satisfied, to have all of the material things that we need and the relationships and environmental circumstances that we need in order to live effectively. We can have all of these things. But I know some people have said to me, rather trying to be humorous, they've said, well, gee, if I had all of those conditions, I probably wouldn't even want to be self-realized. I would be a happy human being. But that's not true, because even if we are completely happy and healthy and functional and prosperous and have good relationships humanly, if we don't have spiritual awareness, there will be that awareness inside that something is missing. In some traditions and cultures, this is referred to as a condition of divine discontent. I've got everything that I need to be happy and healthy and have good relationships and nice family and plenty of money and freedom and recognition, but they say I'm still not satisfied. There's something inside that is causing me to be uncomfortable. Well, what it is that urge to be spiritually conscious, that urge to be more spiritually awake and spiritually free. That's what it is. And when that innate urge, that inner urge, is allowed to be influential, then our spiritual awakening can proceed smoothly, and we can make fast progress on the spiritual awakening path. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which many of you know is the basic text or literary text on Kriya Yoga philosophy, the word Kriya simply means process or action that we perform, or that may happen spontaneously, that is beneficial. And yoga simply means the bringing together of attention and awareness with our pure essence, which results in self-realization or spiritual enlightenment. But the basic text that describes these practices was written about 2,000 years ago by an Indian sage whose name was Patanjali. At least that's what we know about. And in an early part of the text, or his treatise, he wrote that spiritual progress, that is awakening, spiritual awakening, is either very slow and gradual, it is faster, or it is very fast, according to one's concentrated endeavor. If we focus on accomplishment and do what we need to do to accomplish or be spiritually awake, we can be spiritually awake very fast. But if we are not concentrated, if we are just easily distracted or disinterested or just don't care, or living involved in our to stimulate our senses, or to merely to enjoy human relationships, or spectator sports and so forth, then our progress is going to be slower. But if we concentrate on doing what will get results, what will bring results, if we concentrate on that, we will have fast results. So we can be healthy, we can be happy, we can be successful in whatever we do if we concentrate or focus our attention on what works and ignore what doesn't work. Put our attention and our endeavors on what is useful and avoid what is not useful. That is the important thing. That is, so if we focus on the goal that we want to achieve, the purposes we want to accomplish, then we can do it very efficiently. And we all have the capacity to do it. We have this innate capacity. We can improve as necessary. We can improve our powers of discriminative intelligence, our ability to discern. We can improve our intelligence. We can improve our ability to think rationally. And we can improve our ability to control our emotions. And we can improve our functional skills, our ability to do what we want to do successfully. So we have the ability to choose to do these things. That's the marvelous thing when we understand that we are spiritual beings, that we have the freedom to choose our states of mind, our states of awareness or consciousness, and our behaviors, and therefore, to a large extent, we have the freedom to choose our circumstances. And being responsible, being willing to do this, is an indication of emotional maturity. Maturity means to grow or develop to the fullest extent possible. So when we are emotionally mature, then we are responsible for what we think, what we feel, how we behave, what we do, and the results of our actions. And if we say, oh, it's not my fault, it happens to me, I'm the victim of outside influences and circumstances, I can't help myself, this is not true. But if we are talking like that and thinking like that and behaving like that, then we're going to be inclined to experience exactly what we are affirming and doing improperly. So that's why it's so important to affirm, I am a healthy, happy, functional, compassionate person, and I am a spiritual being. And to remind ourselves as often as necessary that this is true. That's one reason we meditate every day, or we pray every day, or even several times a day, is so that we don't forget our relationship with the infinite. To forget what we are as spiritual beings, and to forget our relationship with the infinite is a mistake. Because since we are spiritual beings, we should always be aware of our true nature and our relationship with this infinite or the wholeness of life, or this one reality, ultimate reality, many people call God, which is only one reality, not two realities. Now, many people in many cultures, even on a spiritual path, have a flawed idea about reality. They will say that there is a good reality and a bad reality, or a benevolent reality and a reality which wants to cause trouble or difficulty. Well, that's what we call dualism, or two realities. When it's not true, there's only one reality, not two realities, only one reality. So there is no evil force in the universe. There is no evil intelligence in a contest with God or with the ultimate reality. So it's important for us to think rationally, to think clearly, to think rationally, to imagine creatively, and to affirm constructively. To affirm, I am a spiritual being. I am healthy, happy, whole, successful, prosperous, and have good relationships and so forth. To affirm these things. My guru, my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda, used to advise using affirmations in a way that he called superconscious affirmation. Now, the word superconscious refers to, using the first part of the word super, which means above or beyond. Superconsciousness refers to states of consciousness or states of awareness which are other than and beyond, higher than or beyond ordinary states of consciousness. Ordinary states of mind and consciousness, as you perhaps know, are modified. That is, they are distorted by mistaken ideas, erroneous ideas, flawed opinions, emotional disturbance, psychological conflicts, and so on. But beyond that level of flawed or distorted awareness is a superconscious or a transcendent realm, which is clear, which is above and beyond all of this troublesome conditions. So Yogananda, my guru, used to say, affirm superconsciously. Rather than use an affirmation to try to condition or the subconscious level of mind, which is a form of self-hypnosis or auto-suggestion, rather than do that, affirm until you suddenly break through and realize that what you are affirming is true. And it is a recognition, it is true. Yes, this is true, this is real. So it's not that you are affirming, when you do it superconsciously, it's not that you affirm to try to condition or convince the subconscious level of your mind of what you are saying, but you are simply contemplating the affirmation until suddenly you say, yes, I recognize this, it is true. I am healthy, happy, prosperous, creatively functional, spiritually awake. And you have this feeling of freedom and expansion and clarity of awareness. And that's a breakthrough. And that's the important way to use affirmations. Something else that's helpful to do in planning and living your life is to have a private notebook or journal for your use alone. And when you're quiet, after meditation is a good time, just write in your notebook or journal, write your plans for the near and distant future. What you want to do, what you want to accomplish, and why. And also your action plans, what I call action plans, what you will do to accomplish those purposes, to complete those projects. In this way, when you write them down, clearly define them, you have to think clearly and specifically. What is it that I want to experience? What is it that I should do to make possible the experience? What in me do I need to change, if there's anything that we need to change? How do I need to change or improve my thinking, my behavior, maybe my lifestyle, how I eat? Maybe I should exercise more. Whatever it is you feel that you should do, think that you should do to improve your life, to live effectively, and of course, when you live effectively, you are benefiting society, you are benefiting other people and the environment. Write it down. Have your specific plans and your action plans, what you're going to do to make possible the actualization or the fulfillment or the completion of those ideas. Write it down. And then every now and then review what you've written to notice your progress, see how you're doing. And when you see that you've succeeded, mark it off. Success. accomplished. This is done, this is done, this is done. And that way, you'll be more inclined to live with a clear understanding of your purpose in life, and a clear understanding of what it is you want to do and accomplish, and why, and how you're going to do it. So that is very helpful. I know one of my brother disciples, Mr. Lin, who was a spiritually advanced disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, who was actually the second president of Yogananda's organization after Yogananda passed. He happened to be a multimillionaire businessman. He owned 3 insurance companies, and he was heavily invested in the stock market, and also in the last few years of his life he leased 5,000 acres of land and drilled for oil, and was successful in that venture. And he also, in Texas, he had a 500-acre citrus grove just for the fun of it, so he could send boxes of oranges and grapefruit to his business friends. And that made $1 million a year, and that was only a hobby. It was a side venture. But he told some of his brother disciples what he did that he found helpful. He said, every night before I go to sleep, sometime in the evening, I have a notepad, and I write down what I'm going to do the first thing tomorrow morning. In other words, when he got up when he woke up the next morning, of course, the first thing he did was meditate. He meditated. But after meditation, and he prepared to start his day, he could look at his notes, and he could see, in order of priority, what is important to do today, and get on with it. So he didn't say, oh, it's a new day, what am I going to do? He knew what he was going to do, because the night before he had written down the notes, the plans of action. Of course, you do that. You can also be innovative. You want to be spontaneous and innovative, because even though you have a plan or several plans, and you are in motion to accomplish your purposes, you may have insights, intuition, and inner guidance that comes forth, or opportunities that emerge that you can look at and consider. So we don't want to be like robots or just hypnotized, but we want to have a clear sense of purpose, go forward with enthusiasm and efficiency, and yet also be spontaneous and intuitive and insightful and decisive as we proceed. But the fourth aim or major purpose in life, to have actualized or fully expressed, is to be spiritually enlightened. To be spiritually enlightened, be fully spiritually awake. That is why we are here. We are here to be spiritually fully awake. Now, of course, we have our other duties and obligations and relationships, that it's understood. But we mustn't forget that we want to be should be fully spiritually conscious, fully spiritually awake. And when we are fully awake, then we are always aware of our true nature, what we are, and in our relationship with the wholeness of life or with the infinite, and we're always inclined to live in harmony with the rhythms of life, and you live righteously or rightly or in the right way. Some call this doing God's will, but it's really doing what is right for us in any situation. And therefore, what we do when we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, consciously so, what we do beneficially influences everyone on the planet. That's why I emphasize that spiritual awakening is not just for us, but it benefits everyone, because our consciousness, our awareness, is actually a part of what is called a collective or group consciousness. The combined awareness of all things that are alive and of all people, the combined awareness is this collective or total awareness. Therefore, when we are spiritually enlightened, our clarity of awareness beneficially influences that collective awareness of all people and all living things, so that everyone is benefited by our spiritual awakening. So we are not selfish to want to be self-realized. I remember when I was first beginning to teach in the early 1950s as a minister of the Self-Realization Fellowship, Paramahansa Yogananda's organization. And I was young. I was only 21 years of age, and still had a lot to learn. And after one of the Sunday morning services, a woman approached me, and she said, "You know, it seems to me that you people are very selfish because you're always talking about self-realization. And what about other people?" And then I tried to explain the difference between self as the essence of being and the mistaken sense of self-identity, which Western psychologists refer to as the ego. I tried to explain the difference between those two words, and she didn't get it because I didn't explain it. It was my fault. I wasn't able to explain it. She caught me off guard. I said about I didn't quite know how to answer her question, her comment. But we are not selfish to want to be spiritually enlightened, because the more spiritually conscious we are, the more others automatically or silently benefit. We brighten the world. We illumine the collective consciousness of the planet when we are more spiritually conscious. And we see this in a small way, even in a social setting. You may walk into a room and there's a feeling of gloom and people are just sort of just being people. But you walk in and you're enthusiastic or you're just bright and alert, and pretty soon everyone else starts getting bright and alert. And it's like a light turns on in their consciousness. And what you've done, you've beneficially influenced that group consciousness just by your presence. On the other hand, if you walk into a room and everybody is happy, and you walk in and you're sad and depressed and morbid, that may also be contagious. Some of the folks there might pick up on that and decide to get out of the way and leave the room, or at least avoid you, because they are aware of the fact that your radiation is not positive. But if we can be spiritually conscious, and we can all the time, even when we're engaged in everyday activities, we beneficially influence the collective consciousness of the planet, and therefore society as a whole, and also I believe even the processes of nature. We even beneficially influence the environment. Of course, we can beneficially influence the environment by our practical means too, by not poisoning the environment, and by being wise and careful in how we use material things and how we treat the environment and living things. Of course, that's a matter of responsibility too. But we mustn't forget the importance of completing or having completed our spiritual awakening in our present incarnation. Now, many people I know who have been reading books on philosophy and religion, if they say, "Well, if I don't wake up this time, can I wake up in the hereafter, in the next realm?" Or some people believe in reincarnation, and they say, "Well, if I don't wake up this time, can I wake up next time?" Well, my thought is, why not wake up this time? Be as spiritually conscious as possible this time. This is how my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, talked with me during the several times I had opportunity to be with him privately. He always encouraged me to aspire to be fully spiritually conscious in my current incarnation. He reminded me on one occasion about regarding some people who meditate successfully to the stage of being very peaceful and even inwardly joyous and feeling a degree of fulfillment and a degree of communion with a higher reality or a larger reality. He told me, he said, many saintly people are satisfied to stay at that level of blissful, enjoyable communion with God or this larger reality, and they don't aspire to go beyond that stage to actual knowledge or realization of that higher reality. And he wasn't finding fault with those who like to meditate and feel comfortable and feel pleasure and enjoyment by meditating, but he was just reminding me that that's not the final stage of meditation practice. That is a preliminary, early stage of meditation practice, and it's useful to meditate to the stage where you are very peaceful and calm, and be there for a while, because that can strengthen your immune system. It can clear your mind. It can settle your emotions. It can neutralize somewhat troublesome subconscious influences. It can provide opportunities for insight and inner guidance to emerge. These are useful side benefits of meditating in that way. But we want to go beyond that stage to clear realization or experience of our true nature as pure consciousness. Our essence is pure. That's important to remember. Our essence is always pure. So it's not a matter of trying to become spiritual or trying to attain a high state of awareness. It's really the spiritual path, and meditation especially, or reflection and contemplation at other times, is simply a matter of learning to be aware of what we already are. At the deepest level of our being, we're already whole, perfect, clear, free. This is absolutely true. And when we realize this, that's all there is to it. We are spiritually enlightened. To be enlightened means to have knowledge, not information, but knowledge, to know. To be enlightened is to know, accurately know what is true of ourselves and our relationship with the infinite. And when we know what we are, when we experience what we are, we can also then know that what that ultimate reality is. So self-realization enables us to be God-realized, or to realize, to experience and know the truth about that ultimate reality of which we are units. We are units of its pure essence. So it is possible to be self-realized. Absolutely possible. And more than possible, I think it is important that if we are, as we are on a spiritual path, and a spiritual path is simply a course of actions which help us to bring forth our innate qualities and innate higher knowledge. If we are firmly committed, completely committed on this spiritual path, the spiritual awakening path, then the idea is we want to wake up completely in this current embodiment, in this current life cycle, and not wait until the end of the end, and almost to the end, and say, well, I better get busy and wake up before I go. We don't want to, that's cutting it too close. We don't want to be thinking in terms of, oh, well, I'll do it before, I'll have plenty of time after I retire. Several years ago, a young man, I get perhaps in his 20s or 30s, wrote me a letter, and he said his situation was that he said, I have a family, I have a wife and 2 children, and I have 2 jobs, and I work long hours, and I just don't have time to read religious literature or to meditate very much. Should I just put it off to one side until after the children are grown and have gone through college, and I'm retired from work, And then I'll have all that time when I'm retired to devote to spirit study and spiritual practice. Should I wait and do that? I said, no, don't do that, because you don't know about tomorrow and next week and the month after and the year after. Besides, it is possible to experience spiritual awakening and self-realization while we are engaged in our wholesome relationships and are attending to our duties and our responsibilities. But important to do that, it's important to set aside a little time every day. Everyone, I don't care how busy a person is, everyone can set aside a little bit of time every day. An hour, perhaps, 30 minutes or an hour, 2 hours, at some time during the day for quiet reflection and meditation. And many people can do that simply by being more efficient, by avoiding a lot of the waste action and the wasted social interaction that they engage in. By concentrating again on what is essential, we can accomplish our spiritual awakening even while we are fulfilling our family and our social and our political and our work obligations. And that is possible. But it's simply a matter of right scheduling and right participation. But it can be done. So we don't have to be a hermit or a monastic, off in a monastery somewhere, to be successful on the spiritual awakening path. We can live a healthy life, a natural life. I say natural rather than normal, because what is normal sometimes is not too healthy or too wholesome. But we can live a natural, productive life, attend to all of our duties, make our contribution to our neighborhood and our family and society. That is, do our duty, attend to our duties. At the same time, always be inwardly conscious of our spiritual nature. We're always, as I mentioned again, at the deepest level, we're always whole and pure. We can cultivate that awareness no matter what we're doing. While we're working, while we're interacting with others, regardless of what we are doing, we can learn to be aware inwardly of what we are as a spiritual being. When I had my first private conversation with my teacher, Paramahansa Yogananda, in 1949, I was 18 years of age when I met him in December of that year. 2 days after I met him, I had a private conversation with him. And I was with him for about 30 minutes. I asked if I could be his disciple, his student, and he agreed. And he gave me advice on how to fit into the routine with the other disciples, because it was an ashram environment, a training school, and he gave me advice on how to fit in and how to attend to the duties that would be given to me, how often to meditate, what to read. And on that day, his final words were, after giving me this instruction, his final words were, read a little, meaning worthwhile material for information and inspiration. Read a little, meditate more, and think of God all the time. That was simple. Read a little, meditate more, think of God all the time. Now sometimes people ask me, what did he mean by think of God all the time? What he meant was cultivate awareness of that presence and reality of God all the time. We don't have to be constantly trying to figure it out, trying to think about it in a way of trying to understand the ultimate reality as it is intellectually, and to compare what we think with what others have said and what their opinions are, but to cultivate this awareness of the presence, cultivate the awareness of the presence of this ultimate reality, which is omnipresent, everywhere present, all the time. It is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. We live in it. It expresses through us. Its pure essence is us, is individualized as us. So this is what he meant by think of God all the time. Cultivate an awareness of the reality which is ever present. Because it is omnipresent, wherever we are, it is in fullness and wholeness. It is complete right where we are. So we can't escape it. We can't get away from it. We can never be separated from it. If we have a sense of separation or being separate from it, it's because of our misunderstanding. Because we are too caught up in our mistaken sense of self-identity and our sense of being small and confined. But when we get out of that, expand, get out of that small sense, mistaken sense of self-identity, then we can begin to experience, yes, we do live in a spiritual universe. This reality we call God is everywhere present. It is expressing as everything that we see. Wherever we are, it is. So we are never separated from it. And that's the ideal. It's wonderful to meditate and to experience peace and joy and an expansion of awareness and even at moments of transcendence. That's wonderful. But we can't sit there in meditation 24 hours a day. We have to come out of meditation and perform our duties and interact with others and so forth. And but we can do this with the realization, the experience, and the knowledge that we're always immersed in this wholeness of reality all the time. So it's the matter of successful or effective cultivation of the awareness of this presence, of this reality all the time. And when we are, when that is always real to us, not just imagined, but when it is real to us, then we are fully spiritually enlightened. We can meditate to the stage of transcendence, where we just experience pure existence, and then we come out of meditation, and we still have that inner awareness of what we are in relationship to the wholeness of life, while we're interacting with others and performing our duties. And this is called spontaneous awareness of the truth at all times. It just remains. It is undiminished. It is permanent. It is not modified or changed or distorted in any way. It is always there. And that's what we admire about people who we refer to as saints, who are always established in that awareness of their relationship with the wholeness of life or their relationship with the infinite all the time. And we may admire them, be inspired by them, and that is useful. But more important, we should emulate them. We should be like that. That's the important thing. We should be like that. I remember Paramahansa Yogananda on one occasion. I was with him and a few other brother disciples, and Yogananda was talking with us. And he had to, on one occasion, he had to remind one of the fellows to improve his behavior and do some things that would be better for him to do. And he said, afterwards, I only tell you these things because I want you to be as strong as I am. That he meant spiritually strong and spiritually aware. So as a teacher, as a guru, and the word guru means teacher, his function was to bring out the innate goodness, the innate spiritual reality of the disciple. But he was very strong on this, on reminding us that his function was to make us like he was, not to copy his personality and behaviors, but to be as spiritually conscious as he was. That's the important thing. To be as spiritually conscious as possible, and everyone can be fully spiritually conscious. So I know that is true of you, and I wish that for you. So until next time, I'll be thinking of you and seeing you as I always do, as whole and pure and bright and clear and steadily awakening to the highest realization that is possible for you to know. Namaste.